Warning: the following video may have language that some viewers may find offensive, and others are already offended. Viewer discretion is advised, but not really. No animals were hurt in the making of this 4-hour feature film.
Hi, everybody, and thanks for joining us here on the Full Monty video podcast that we shoot right here in St. Thomas, Ontario. And this is a show that I'm going to really enjoy. This episode, we have a young guy that a lot of you know here in St. Thomas, was on the police, St. Thomas Police Force here for a long time. No longer in the city. Some people may wonder whatever happened to him. Those on Facebook that follow the police in this area, you probably know where he is now. And pretty cool to have him in here. So, in the hot seat, sitting right over here, welcome the, I'm going to say the new Chief of Police in Aylmer. So we got Kyle Johnstone. Kyle.
Awesome.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, thanks, Tony.
I so appreciate you coming in.
Appreciate it.
So how long in the captain's chair?
Since January. So
January. Okay. So
short
new.
stint. Yeah, very new.
Awesome. So, as I was telling you, and then we were kind of talking off camera here. So when I put up the post that you were coming on the show, a former officer from St. Thomas, long retired, but he had left a comment about very distinguished. It was great that you did this. So I'll have to bring that up and show you exactly what he said. But yeah, it was really nice. So
that's awesome.
To hear that from your peers, when you were here, I mean, that must make you feel pretty good.
Yeah, it does, and it's also it's still kind of the hardest part of moving on is missing the people. But those people that matter to you, obviously, you stay in touch with no matter what. So.
Now, when you see someone, because I'm sure you see it, when you get the real negative, like just the nasty comments.
Yeah.
Do you ever want to just have your little black book that you write that down? So you're like, I just got to keep an eye on him.
You know what? As crazy as it sounds, you get used to it, right? Like,
I know.
I mean, and we've kind of taken an approach that, everything that we see with the negative comments are 99.9% of the time uneducated, on the incident or whatever it is. So you grow a thick skin. So
absolutely. Trust me, I get it here too.
Yep.
I get it here. It's
what do you call those keyboard warriors? They're everywhere.
Oh, they're big boys.
Yeah.
They're tough on those computers.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know. So let's start a little bit. So when Kyle was just born.
Yep.
Where'd you grow up? And
I've been very fortunate. Pretty much. I've never really left the area. I grew up in Belmont.
Oh, did you?
Yep,
Okay.
Belmont boy till I was off to college. So
okay.
It's a community that's very near and dear to me, and still go back for hockey with my kids and stuff. And it feels like I never left.
Nice.
So
yeah.
And then my route to St. Thomas. Went to South Dorchester Public School outside of Belmont till grade 6.
Okay.
And then Aylmer, ironically enough, for Davenport for 7 and 8. And then St. Joe's High School here in St. Thomas for high school. And that's about as far as I've gone. So
wow. Now, growing up, what was one of your first jobs? What'd you get into?
My first job was actually one of probably my favorite job that I've ever had. I started when I was 14. It's kind of a weird story, but my dad was doing some landscaping. He went to this landscape supply company in London to get some sod. And he came home and he said, "Hey, I got something to tell you." I said, "Oh yeah, what's that?" So I got you a job, you start tomorrow. Well, okay.
I got you a job.
I got you a job, you start tomorrow. So I didn't know much about it. It was at Fisher Landscape Supply on Exeter Road, and they had a place in Dorchester as well, family-run business. And I started working for them when I was 14.
Oh, cool.
And I worked all the way through with those guys, even once I was a police officer, until I was about 28, on and off. So it was the best job I could have ever had.
So going from that, then what inspired you to pursue a career in this, and how's that evolved now that you're chief?
It's a crazy story, actually, and it all comes back to Fisher Landscape Supplies, which is kind of interesting. It does. So I loved the job. Ever since I was a kid growing up, I had an interest in loaders and backhoes. That was my thing, and it's still a guilty pleasure of mine today. I love heavy equipment. I love driving tractors.
Yeah.
And I got to do that at Fisher's, which was awesome. So loading pickup trucks and loading dump trucks and driving this heavy equipment around, that's why ever since I became a police officer for about 10 years of my career, I was helping them out in the busy season, snow plowing when I could.
Oh, so you're still,
yeah,
still went back then?
yeah,
Oh,
I still went back. Yeah,
cool,
yeah,
awesome.
until I was about 28, and then life just got too busy, and I was working too many shifts in the policing world. So when I was selling these landscape supplies and helping customers, one of the things I loved the most, and I started to discover how much I liked kind of talking to people and meeting people and hearing their stories. And I had a customer come in who you'll know, and his name was Steve Withenshaw.
Okay.
So Steve Withenshaw was a very long-time staff sergeant for the St. Thomas Police, and I just had this interest in policing, and we got to know each other very well. And he said, "Hey, we've got this cadet spot, And at the time, I was going to Fanshawe College for Police Foundations, and he said, he thought about St. Thomas. And to come full circle in this, when I was at high school in St. Joe's, I did a co-op placement at the St. Thomas Police. So I knew, without Steve knowing, that my only goal wasn't to become a police officer, but I wanted to become a police officer in St. Thomas.
Yeah.
And I applied, and I have no doubt that Steve went to bat for me. And I got a job, and it was, that's my full circle story. It was very cool.
I have a friend of mine that actually came from another country. Well, he was a resident here. He used to be a police officer in Colombia.
Okay.
And cartels and everything happening there. Well, he wound up having to relocate his whole family because of the cartels and what was happening to the policemen over there. Anyway, he tried everywhere here, and he couldn't. For a long time now, he was a corrections officer for EMDC.
Okay.
So he was up there he finally got into that kind of, but that still wasn't quite what he wanted. Now he's actually Alberta. He's a sheriff.
Okay.
And he got hired out there, but he still wants to come back. He wants to be police, so he's still trying all the different but it's not easy to get in.
No.
It's a tough. When I tried, well, of course you're gonna remember Hank. Hank's there. So Hank and I grew up in Mitchell,
right?
And his dad worked with my dad, and we I've known Hank since we were probably 5 years old.
Yeah.
So back in that time, actually, when Hank started was when I wanted to do the auxiliary OPP in Lambton County, and worked my way through that when I was on the donut shop, and then got into the trucking. But I couldn't get hired at the time. It was even back then in 1992. I was the second vice president of the Legion, and we were dealing with that whole turban issue, and that all started with the RCMP, and all that was breaking grounds. And
diversity was pretty new coming in.
Yeah, and at that time, so even my staff sergeant back then, he's like, "You know what, Tony, you will never." I hate to say it, but it's women and these minority groups at that time. It was a big push, and he said, you just won't get on. So
it's like anything. There's peaks and valleys, and when I applied back in 2006, I know there was a couple hundred applicants for a couple cadet spots, and now,
was there really?
Yeah, and I mean now a lot of services are struggling to attract and get people to apply, and we're looking at low double digit numbers for people that are putting in.
So this is a question that I think I put to someone else at one other point too, but I did want to ask you this, because I love the auxiliary program. I think it's just a great program. But why do you think St. Thomas never had it? Did you guys ever wish you did, or do you ever talk about it?
You know what? No, it was never really something in my tenure there that came up. I mean, the thing with St. Thomas is it is extremely busy, especially right now.
Yeah.
They do a very good job, and they're call to call. So trying to bring on another program like that it's a pretty big undertaking for someone.
Right.
I'm not sure if there's an appetite for it or not. It certainly has its benefits in some services, and we're certainly one of them.
Yeah.
But again, it's something to run off the corner of somebody's desk, and it takes a lot of time away from somebody.
That must have been a big adjustment for you too, switching over like auxiliary program, learning all about.
It was, and it was actually, a long story. But when I started, the auxiliary program existed in principle, but we only really had one person that was up and operational, and we had an authorized complement of 4. So one of the things that we did, we really used that program to kind of reach out to the low German population and it's been going great. We've got 3 low German speaking auxiliary officers that have been phenomenal, making inroads with the community and really helping us out with community events, and just kind of, being that person that kind of bridges the gap between police and the public, and giving us that legitimacy in a community that's very very apprehensive about their views on police.
Wow, that is cool. So what kind of vision do you see then for Aylmer, like in the next few years coming up? Are you working on stuff right now, or is there, I'm sure with your police service board and all that stuff you have too, but there's, what's on your
We've got a
plans?
lot on the go, and it's actually quite funny because some people who really don't understand the dynamics of policing, when I explain that now I'm in Aylmer, I've moved from Aylmer, some people's off the cup kind of, remark is, oh, did you want something a little quieter? Or, oh, you wanted something with a different pace. Anybody that knows me knows I go 100 miles an hour. I can't sit still, and I'm busy, and I've never been busier in my life.
Cool.
It's a relative group of people for a relative group of calls, right? Like, we don't have 120 officers, right? We have 13. That's excluding the deputy chief and myself. So when we're handling about 3,500 to 3,700 calls a year, you divide that amongst the 13 that are operational, and the call per officer ratio rivals that of any big service. So we're busy. We have been throttled down for the last couple of years. We've really done a push on modernization and kind of bringing the service up into where we need to be. It's certainly not it's not Mayberry. We're busy. And we've got a lot of proactive, very talented police officers, and that's really starting to shine. So you'll probably see in our media releases, we've got a lot of really good calls that have been happening and being handled. They do a phenomenal job in their 12 hours, finding proactive policing to do, responding to the calls that come. And
and you're growing too.
We are.
Your community is growing.
Yep.
I still love Aylmer because it still has that old town, small town feel.
I've never found a better downtown to go for a walk. I still get out and walk at least a couple times a week. It is phenomenal. That old town charm that exists, you can't recreate that.
And the citizens there probably approach you like you're all friends.
They do.
That's nice.
The one thing I noticed when I started, and it'll be 3 years in August that I've been there, but there was this transitional period for the service where kind of the 30-year members that had been there for so long were retiring, going to OPC, and we had this new crop of young officers coming up. In the community, who was on the first name basis with everybody, really went through this weird time, and the remarks were, we don't know anybody on the police service anymore, everybody's gone. So the people that have been coming up, they're staying and they're making those relationships. It's taken a bit of time, but that's the connection. And there's nothing more satisfying to me when you overhear a call on the radio or something that goes through the comm center where a citizen's calling in and they're asking for a specific officer by name, which is it's a testament to the work they're doing.
That shows that they're making connections into the,
and we are, like you said, we're growing. Right? We're no doubt seeing kind of the spin-off from the PowerCo plant and all the kind of jobs that are coming from that. We've got a lot of new infrastructure coming to the town. I'll tell you, the team atmosphere that we have with the town, our CAO is a visionary, our treasurer is an absolute genius, and the way that they've kind of taken the town and also, modernized it and are really putting Aylmer on the map it's inspiring, and it's really great.
Last podcast, actually, I had Councillor Catherine DeRoger from Aylmer. And we talked about vision and different things happening in the growth, and she was pretty insightful. We had quite a chat there.
No, it's good.
And everything right from the good side right to the integrity commissioner. She hates that word. But that's the name that, but you know what? I said to her, I said, usually when I hear that commissioner gets called in, usually it's because just people don't like the way certain people run, and I give somebody a lot of credit for standing their ground. If you really believe in something and you fight for it, a lot of people don't usually like that, but hey, sometimes.
I'm not exactly familiar with the inner workings behind that and the democracy behind it, but like I said, the staff that we have in the town, and the people that we have in the departments, we work so closely together with the public works and, the parks department and the town itself. It's actually, it's a really cohesive group.
Yeah, good. So what would then some of the biggest safety concerns going on Aylmer right now? What trends are you seeing? I see a rise a lot of these scams.
Yeah, scams are huge. Scams are very big. And one of the reasons that we're seeing a lot of scams, and this is through, debriefing some of the victims and through speaking to our auxiliary officers, is the low German Mennonite population by design is very trusting. And through their church teachings and kind of the way that they were brought up, everyone is above board until they're not. So if there was anything that, somebody would maybe think is untoward, the benefit of the doubt is given in that community, and then sometimes that leads to exploitation and frauds.
Wow. I know with Catherine, we were talking and we were actually talking about how their population is kind of moving a little further out of town. They're not as close in. Because I said, I've noticed I don't hardly see, I usually through Aylmer 2-3 times a week.
Yeah.
We go for drives every night after work. We go Port, Sparta, up through Aylmer, come back. One time I remember seeing the horses all the time, and I don't see them that much anymore.
Yeah,
not as many.
And that's separate from the low German Mennonite population. Okay. So that's the old order Amish.
The old order.
And they are still very, very prevalent in the community. You'll see them at the grocery store and through town. Yep.
Super friendly people.
And just one more big piece of that kind of small town charm, that there's nothing better than hearing the horse and buggy go clipping through town.
That's right. And then going out collecting road apples. Those are always fun. So community policing then, how does that play in your strategy, especially like when you're dealing with the town of Aylmer? How do you work around that in organizing community policing?
So we are basically we would be a case study for community policing in Aylmer. And actually a very good friend of mine, he's an inspector up in Greater Sudbury.
Okay.
And he came down here and he said to the chair of our police service board, you guys are doing everything that police services are trying to do, but you're able to do it. Because these big services, well-meaning, preach community policing, but it's lost with all these emergent calls and these tactical calls and these, major calls that they're handling all the time, which take priority and unfortunately take away from that frontline community policing. Everything we do is community policing. Everybody knows somebody, everybody has a connection to somebody. And like I was saying before, with that first name basis, that's community policing. Yeah. And if somebody wants to call in, we are very big on the no call too small. Even if it's not a police matter, the officers will give you their time, they'll give you an opinion, and we make sure that we are taking care of the community.
Nice. What made you go to Aylmer? Like, I mean, I've known you for a long time here in town, and we've done some things together with other certain things that were happening in the city. But then all of a sudden, I just heard one day you were gone. You were gone to Aylmer.
So
that had to be a hard decision, or was it quite easy for you?
No, it was probably to date about the most difficult decision that I've ever had to make. I had a great career in St. Thomas. I miss St. Thomas every day. The people that work there and the quality of policing that happens in this town would rival any, Big 12 service that's in the province. And we had a lot of fun. Yeah. A lot of my best friends are still there. The way that this came to be, I was the staff sergeant in charge of anything support services at the time with St. Thomas. So anything that was non-patrol, so criminal investigations, drugs, forensics, traffic, that was kind of my side of the house, courts. And I was having a lot of fun with it. And, through that kind of stuff and all the things that I had fortune to do along the way kind of gave me a pretty good, well-rounded portfolio of experience. And Nick Novicic, who you'll remember.
Yeah, I remember Nick.
Was the deputy of Aylmer at the time and is a very, very good friend of mine. And he was hired in Woodstock and he was moving on. And he reached out to me and said, hey, what do you think about this? And I said, no, I'm good.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
You said no, you turned him down.
Yeah, I said, I'm good. And then he asked me again a couple of days later. He says, hey, did you put any more thought to this? I think you'd be great. I think you have a lot that you could bring over here. Yeah. Just put some thought to it. And I thought, no. So then the weekend went by and we talked again. He says, well, just put in and see what you think. And you can always say no. Who knows? And I thought, okay. So I talked to my wife, who's also a police officer in St. Thomas, and that's another part of the dynamic that was a big part of the factor of not wanting to leave that.
Sure.
And she said the same thing. So yeah, put in, see what happens. So I put in. Long story short, I got offered the job.
Nice.
Insert another very tough decision to make.
Okay.
And I took some time to think about it, and I did it. And I don't have any regrets at all.
Okay.
I miss the people and I miss the work, but I've never been busier. And it's a different side of policing. It's a different side of the house, and it's it was the right move at the right time.
Small town policing to the city policing must be quite different in some aspects.
In some aspects, absolutely.
Yeah.
And as close in proximity as St. Thomas and Aylmer are, they are drastically different in both the demographic, the daily policing, the kind of calls for service that come in. It's very different. The interesting part of this is I'm still very much connected because St. Thomas dispatches for us. So it's the same dispatchers.
Oh, did they come back to St. Thomas again?
Yeah, 2017.
Yeah.
So we're all on the same radio channel.
Oh, excellent.
We work very well laterally. If there's a big call in Aylmer and we need help, we know they're coming.
I know since all you buggers went digital, of course that screwed all of us listeners, right?
The old scanner land.
We don't. Yeah. I remember a long time. Well, you probably heard it there. I remember Aylmer a few times though. It used to come on and it would say, for those in Scannerland,
Mike Knight,
we're looking for this, and man, instead of having 3 cruisers run around Aylmer or 2 and then whatever St. Thomas, but you've got like 150 eyes out there looking around now.
It'd be interesting, and I still remember going to some calls when you'd key up the radio to radio into dispatch, and then you hear it echoing in the back room of somebody's house because they have a scanner set up. It was an interesting feeling.
I grew up with it. Ever since when my dad was a cop, my mom, at that time, it was a PSB band on a radio, AM, FM radio. And she always used to tune in. Well, Stratford at that time used to dispatch Mitchell, St. Mary's, Stratford.
Yep.
And we used to hear everything on there. But a really quick story, which is kind of I'll ask you about some more memorable stuff for you. But one that I know I put my dad through was one time I was quite a little shit for my dad. And he had an old pair of handcuffs that were sitting in the closet. They were broke. A key or something had happened. I was about 6, I think, at the time. Anyway, I did something. I was grounded. I was sent upstairs, whatever. Dad got dressed, went to work. Through that night or whatever, I had my own toy handcuff stuff, and I broke it. So I went in the closet and got his real ones. And I wound up, long story short, handcuffing my ankles together and had them on too tight. Like I cranked them on, and of course, I guess from what my mom said,
they're not very forgiving. Yeah.
No, and she was freaking out because my feet were turning colors, and so she had to call the dispatch. Of course, we had no cell phones back then, right? This is early 70s, so she has to call Stratford, and then they wound up putting it over the radio that Dad had to go home because his son had handcuffed his feet.
Awesome.
Oh yeah. So as I grew up now, I think, that had to be so embarrassing.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
Back then. And then he came home. I had to wait till the next day because then he had to take me to Stratford to the locksmith at the police station to get these things off.
It's a big process, yeah.
It was, yeah, it was. But that's a story that. So for residents in that area, how do you get them involved in local policing? What kind of advice can you give people, like even in the city? For average citizens, what can they do to help you guys?
Call us for everything. And that's what I tell everybody that we kind of see, like, again, back on the no call too small. Like I tell people, especially in Aylmer, if you're up in the middle of the night grabbing a glass of water and you see something that doesn't look right, just call us. And it's kind of interesting hearing some of the stories from people that, may have moved from Hamilton or moved here from Toronto, and, they wouldn't dare call the police because it just simply wasn't a priority for them that they could handle. So when they hear us say, no, just call us, like we'll come out. If it's nothing, it's nothing. Mm-hmm. If it's something, great. So we kind of really push that. And then the foot patrol. So back to basics, frontline, community policing, foot patrol is huge for us.
I like to see that.
It's huge. And it's going a long way.
Something we don't have here anymore. They have the special constables downtown and walking up, but they don't do the night stuff, and they pull on the doors, and that's such a good community thing that officers, when they used to walk the beat.
Yep. It's a fundamental, and our big push is we want them out walking when the people are there, right?
Yeah.
And then you know what, that that was something instilled in me when I started, was the old nighttime beat walk, check the door kind of thing. But when you're really, fighting with resources and putting people where they need to be when it's busiest, that, has kind of died off a little bit. But
I mean, as things come up and you get busier as you grow, it's hard to keep doing these kind of things. But like St. Thomas does, so I don't know if you guys actually do it now, but do you do that, like have a coffee with a cop?
We do, yeah.
Yeah, that's a cool thing to be able to go and sit down and
So we've run a couple of different programs. We had one at the market, which is it's very kind of refreshing how well they treat us and how well the people receive the police there. And we've done a partnership with the Legion.
Nice.
We've done a couple, and then
never heard of the Legion. My dad always used to say, I just never forgot it as a little kid, but he said, when a cop gets killed, they're not actually killing the person, they're killing the uniform. Mm-hmm. It's always that what you're wearing is what they're at, because they don't know you personally, right?
No.
And that's the nice part now, is breaking that barrier. And still, it's sad, from the 70s to today, 50 years later, we're still dealing with getting to know the person. Cops are people. They have families. They have kids. You go to work like I go to work, you want to come home.
Yeah, I mean, the job, for so many services has changed so much over time that, so many of the officers that are driving around in the cruisers, and you'll see them here in St. Thomas and Aylmer too, like, they would really love to make those relationships when you are call to call and there's 10 or 15 calls stacked and you're on to the next one. Like, that's where you really lose out on that piece. And it's sometimes I think it comes across as contrite or rude on behalf of the police officers, but people don't know what's stacked up waiting for them.
Yep. And that's where people also have to say, like you say, you see it, call it, right?
Yep.
You call in. I've heard so many times, and I've had it here too, where we've had to call, and it's 3 hours if you can even get a cruiser to come.
Yep.
It's low priority. I get it. They have calls they got to go to, right? And there's times they can't make it. London's going through the same thing, right? So people have to realize that they're not being ignorant. People will say, well, I don't even call anymore because they don't show up. Well, it's not that they don't show up. It's just they can't.
Yep.
There's so many priority calls.
Yep.
And it's tough. And you guys are going to see that now too. But until government cops up more money and expands, I mean, we're getting there slowly, but
it's an interesting...
Emergency services need a lot more funds.
Yeah,
they really should. And especially PTSD that's been coming up. I was dealing with that with the military, and I've done some seminars and from St. Catharines up where soldier suicide, and we've seen it now with cops. So we've seen it, it's not nice.
It's a terrible thing. And it's, I mean, the whole PTSD thing of it brings with it a lot of benefits for people. And then it also brings, a lot of financial burden and kind of trying to, ensure operations are going and have people, there to, still drive
internally. Is it opening up more? I think now so. That you can actually talk about it?
I think so.
Because a lot of people still, even though they could go to a doctor and talk, but I can't tell my coworkers, or I can't tell my boss. I can't tell. Yeah,
it's certainly changed even in my 20 years. Like, it's completely different, which is certainly for the better. Yeah. People aren't afraid to talk about it, but it's still not as openly spoken about as I think some people think. The topic itself is, and getting help, and then people going off when they need to. Yeah. But once that happens, there's really no chatter in between. It's just kind of
And just talking alone is huge.
Huge.
To be able to talk to somebody. I know I have a friend of mine that's in the service that we've had quite the conversations, and I'm brought up so old school that my dad, and growing up on the farm as a kid, and I was able to separate a lot of some heavy stuff, and I have seen some pretty nasty accidents that I was able, life's cruel, and you got to kind of keep that in mind, that whatever you see is, when we lost Cindy, when I started the Extinguishers for Cindy program, learning what happened with her and how she perished, and not, fully awake, and what happened, and horrific,
terrible,
and the guy that was there holding her, broke down. He's crying on my shoulder basically, and we're talking, and I just, and I knew her personally. Yeah, it was bad, but life can be rough. Yeah, it can be rough, and you have to,
it can be.
You got to kind of work through that. But anyway, So let's see. I got a picture here. I'm going through my list of our magical questions here, but you just recently completed a. I think I have these upside down now. Yes, here we are. All right. Did you get a peek at that one?
No.
Did you see it? Okay, there you go. So these are going to go up on the screen. All right.
Awesome. Yeah.
So was this you a degree in policing while serving as deputy chief? Is that one?
So no, this is separate. This was a police leadership program that was 3 weeks in Toronto with other police leaders from around the province, and it was a pretty good time.
Okay, yeah, I kind of, we always bring up some photographs and stuff. It was tired. It was very hard for me to even get anything on you. So
it's good.
Yeah, that's good. My days with, I had a great relationship with not your last chief, but the chief before, Chief Aylmer.
Yep.
And was going to actually go up and do a lot of filming. We were going to do like our own version of Cops.
No way.
Back when I was at Rogers at that time. And then I just went out on my own, and he's like, hey, why don't you come up and I want to show the community what we do and how we interact and stuff. And I said, that'd be so cool. I'd love to do it, but I don't know if I have the time.
Yeah.
At that time I was very, very busy. I was actually doing the new psych hospital for Ellis Dawn. I did all their training videos and everything for that place. And the new courthouse I went through, did all the commissioning videos for there, from basement to roof.
Yeah, Andre was he's a very tech savvy fella. Yeah.
He was cool.
He is.
And with him coming from where he did, I grew up Mitchell. He wasn't far from there.
Yep.
Kirkton area. And so we kind of had a connection there to back in those days. So I always wanted to go to Aylmer and do, a whole segment on that where we did a couple of ride-alongs and just filmed and just showed people what small town policing was.
100%. There's
maybe sometime I can set that up with you in the future.
Yeah.
I think it'd be cool just on a Friday, Saturday night, and just, we can talk about the new equipment. And, of course, when things get into big stuff, then we don't show any of that. But it's, even the high-speed chases and different things that I was, back from Grand Bend days. But, I mean, that's a whole, over 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's a whole other lifetime.
So basically a thing of the past.
Yeah, everything's, I know. And that's got to be frustrating as hell.
Yeah, you know what it is.
Because I remember my dad always used to tell us too, like tunnel vision. Yeah. Don't get tunnel vision. You can't get yourself.
I think the pendulum has swung so much, in that all of the current officers have seen and experienced a lot of the headaches that come with the oversight and the investigation. And at the end of the day, when you peel it back, if it's something like a theft or something rather trivial, it's not worth it.
And most times, if you can get plate numbers or what, with the technology cameras everywhere now, it's not long for you.
No, we'll find you.
We'll get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. So, giving young people now that are thinking about, how do you, what kind of guidance, information would you give them to try and get them to come into the policing world?
So, kind of like I was mentioning, that ebbs and flows of the interest in policing right now. We're kind of on. We've kind of plateaued. We've noticed provincially that the recruiting was low. Okay. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but there's been a recruiting campaign that's been driven by the OACP, the OAPSB, and the PAO called Answer the Call. And it's basically, in line with what you do with kind of the video aspect of kind of showing the interesting sides of policing. And we've all decided to kind of pool our resources together as, advertising policing in Ontario as a whole, rather than, silo policing in Aylmer, policing in St. Thomas, policing in Sarnia. So collaboratively, we look at bringing quality candidates to the table, or at least making it a little more enticing for the betterment of policing in Ontario as a whole. And that campaign so far has been going really well. We've also tried some different tactics within our service to try and increase our recruiting. And one of the things that was kind of a bit of a preclusion for people was this pre-test. So you need to get an OACP certificate of results that, was an aptitude test, was a written comprehension test, your eyesight.
Okay, so let's stop right there. Comprehension test.
Yep.
Okay, so what is it when these people are doing these tests? Let's break it down.
Yep.
Are you looking for, say there was a test that I had to do many, many years ago where it was like flashing license plate numbers, just a brief second, and then now recall. So it's memory retention.
Yep.
how accurate are you recalling things? Is that what still they're doing today? And is this kind of what the tests are? Like, how are you putting words together?
It's evolved. So basically, most of it is online now. So I mean, that's the way that pretty much everything's going. So I mean, they've spent some money and really figured out some algorithms on the back end about what needs to be, relative to today's policing, and then it kind of generates a score on the back end for hireability and some things. And there's a little bit more to it rather than just a pass or fail like there used to be.
Yeah.
So, but one of the things that we did, because that costs money, and we identified that as, one of those, preclusionary terms to getting people to at least put a resume in and get their foot in the door. And the province recognized that too, which is why there's no longer a tuition for the Ontario Police College. So when I went, we paid out of pocket.
Yes, yeah.
Most people did, right through until...
It's now the community, isn't it? Where they're going? Are they the one that pay?
The province is footing the bill.
Oh, are they really? Oh, wow.
Yep. So the Sol Gen and the province are footing the bill.
Nice.
And that was, again, just to attract more candidates to policing, and that's been quite successful.
Well, that definitely helps the service where they're coming from, too, because there are a lot of little services. They'd never be able to afford that.
No, so again, it was never on the service, it was on the member.
So yeah.
Yep. Everybody was responsible for paying their way through school. Yeah.
So you're into student loans or whatever to get in there.
Yeah, it was when I went, it was $7,500. Yeah. And
it was how many weeks is that?
13.
13. I was going to say, was it 12? The one thing I love about OPC, I don't know why. Okay, so a couple things. My earliest memory as a kid, my dad going there, and I used to drive around in the cruiser on the old runways.
Probably hasn't changed very much. There.
No, I haven't actually been up there for a long time, but I still have a little car upstairs, actually, the skid car.
Yeah.
They came out with a very limited edition of those, and I managed to snag one.
Yeah.
Green Light, I think, was the company that did them. So I have the official Aylmer OBC skid car.
Very cool.
It's kind of cool with the big slicks on the back. And there was a Chevy Caprice. But Tiny Town, I love Tiny Town.
Yeah,
I used to walk around there all the time.
Very cool.
Yeah, that was my most favorite of OPC was the canteen.
Yeah,
the food in there. Oh,
people complain about the food. I've never complained about food in my life. So it's
When I was doing the alarm response, you remember when Linden Security was here, and I was doing my patrol supervisor for them, and of course OPC was one of our stops. So I was always up there all the time and driving around through there, whatever. But at Christmas and whenever the holiday, we used to go up and eat the food.
Yeah, you can't complain.
And I used to laugh at some of the new guys running around there with the wooden pistols that were weight oriented and that, just so they get the feel of that. And don't get splinters. So there's some pretty cool stuff there. But on the public side, though, so we're going to flip it. So we talked about what public can do, but what do you think some of the biggest misconceptions for people about policing?
Policing in general?
Yeah. So would it be more of this, for me, I see it as more because of how busy things are getting, the amount of calls that are getting, and you're not able to attend quick enough in a lot of people's eyes, right? Yeah. So is that a big misconception? Like they're not understanding what truly is that why I'd like to do a show like that where we could show people exactly what, like small town Aylmer, we took cameras out on a weekend and said, here, look how many calls these guys are doing and the intensity.
It's not only the calls, but I mean, arguably the busiest department in the police service is the communication center.
Okay.
And they're fielding all the calls, and I'll use, here as an example, they're taking the calls for all of St. Thomas and all of Aylmer and dispatching the officers at the same time. So, I mean, they're the ones who really have to prioritize what happens and how calls come out. But, I mean, when a call does come, the issue is response time's one, and the province right now is doing a review on provincial response time for every police agency to basically come up with what the measurable standard should be. That really, in my opinion, comes from the GTA, where Toronto, I mean, you talk about these issues where calls are stacking up, and they are here, but it hails in comparison to what's going on in the GTA. So the Inspectorate of Policing is looking at a review for the entire province on what the call times are and kind of what the benchmark should be.
Okay.
In this particular situation, I would very strongly suggest that we are probably on the very high end of one of the best response times regardless.
Cool. Yeah.
And we pride ourselves on that. And you know what? That's what the community pays for.
Yeah.
Here on Tractor, the
Yep.
guys who sell the big green John Deeres.
Especially out by Delaware in there.
Yep. I mean, their motto in business is pretty simple, and we're very big on service.
Okay.
And that's kind of the motto that we've taken with us as well. And myself and our new deputy, we preach that, and we make sure that is exactly what the community gets. They're paying for their own police service, and we want to give them a very good service. So our call times, again, are probably very exceptional compared to a lot of places.
Very cool.
But the issue is then once you get the call, there's all the back end work that comes with it.
Yeah.
Even something as simple as a 911 hang-up call, which could be something as simple as a 30
I could tie up a lot of resources to that thing.
But even if it turns out to be nothing and it's a pocket dial, the back end is there's linking, there's an incident that's generated. We need to link the phone number, the person, there needs to be a provincial stat that goes off to measure it for the province, and it takes time. That's on the low end. With, a high end with a criminal charge package or an impaired driver, the officers are really out of commission working on that package for probably 3 or 4 hours conservatively.
Okay.
So that's probably the biggest misconception.
Yeah.
And the other one, and this one, this one still lives on with me, but if you ever see 2 police cars parked car to car in the community,
I know where we're going with this one. Yeah.
People think that, they're shooting the breeze or, they're having a coffee. 99.9% of the time, they're using the computer in the car to smash out the report while they're choking down a sandwich, not on their break, and then clearing themselves to go to another call. So that, I think, is the biggest misconception behind that. And, the flip side of that is the officers could be, out of that zone, back at the station working on the report and not close to an emergent call if it comes in. So when they're parked in the parking lot, 99.9% of the time, they're working on something or choking down.
I remember
some cold
those
food.
days, and from my dad, you went back to the station and you were off the road now and whatever. If it was bad enough and you were called out, away you went. This here, you see it all the time. Cops sitting side by side, 2:00 in the morning, but you don't know. Maybe they were both the officers responding to that call, so they're both collaborating on.
Yeah, you got to get information.
Doing, right?
One person talked to somebody, one person talked to the other person. The one doing the report needs that information, so that's usually the case.
Just the world of cameras today. I don't envy you guys at all anymore. I mean, it's just everywhere.
And that's part of this whole recruiting issue is because what the misconception is that's in the paper is all this. You get these people who come out of school now and. You go down column A, you go down column B, right? And if, people don't want the scrutiny, the oversight, they read the paper, they see the things, but, insert things like body cameras, which in my opinion have been phenomenal.
Yeah. Do you guys have them?
We do. Yep.
You do have them. Okay.
Yep, we do. We started it, be about a year.
Awesome.
And it's a phenomenal tool for a multitude of reasons that people don't even understand, but it's certainly a benefit to the officers. It resolves the complaints. We've identified a ton of people that we didn't have an authority on a traffic stop to force identification on, and then through investigative follow up on the back end, you send the video off to somebody and you go, hey, I know that guy.
So you got body worn cams. Do you have them in the cruisers too?
No.
Are they show? Okay, so you don't have like the dash cam.
No.
Ones
So
on there,
I mean, the problem with body cams that a lot of people don't understand. Is the problem that comes with them is all the data. So
that's true.
someone has to manage all that data.
Yep.
It costs money, which it's the cost of doing business, but then anything that, we lay a charge on becomes a matter of disclosure. And there's redaction and there's labor intensive time involved in that and, timelines to get stuff out. So
which in media, or I could even apply for the Release of Public Informations Act or whatever. But that's,
And then, there's a lot of redactions that have to come with that. So, but all in all, I mean, our view on it, especially, and it's not apples to apples. There's different needs in different communities.
Where I'm seeing a lot just lately now, especially in the States, but when they're interviewing either a witness or a suspect or whatever, and instead of forms and writing everything down, they're having them basically, of course, in the States, raising their hand, swearing them to you swear or tell the truth, whatever, everything you give is going to be accurate, and then they're doing everything through the body cams.
Yeah, I mean, we're not doing that to that extent, only because there's some.
So they must be using that for courts.
Yeah,
that
they are
specific.
and we are too. Like, I mean, everybody's got a phone, so we've got like an audio recorder that's in the same interface and stuff. So we do our statements that way. But yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah. Now that's got to be in today's world, though. So frustrating. People are, we're seeing about these prolific offenders, right? And we just had another thing that was just put out with a multi 18 times court appearance thing, and he's, still we're back out doing it again. So this whole bail thing and just it's got to be the most frustrating thing for you guys.
It is,
like, to see, because I don't get mad at any officer that keeps saying it, like, why am I doing this? Like, and
that's not uncommon, unfortunately.
Yeah, I know. It's just, you spend all that time, you get them in, and by 5 hours later you see them out or whatever. They're released.
That's tough. As a supervisor and a police leader, trying to keep everybody motivated to keep doing what they're doing, because exactly like you said, that's the feeling.
It's got, they just eventually, I can just see it, like, oh, I'm looking over here. I didn't even see that, right?
But that's again another case at point of why recruiting is a difficult sell in policing, because the public sees that too, and we see it in the comments, and they are fully educated at this point on who is responsible and how the process works, because initially it was everybody blamed the police, right?
Of course.
The police let them out, and St. Thomas here and Chief Rosscamp have done a very good job at kind of highlighting, and you might see it in the weekly court dispositions they release on Facebook. And that really paints a clear picture on who is released and who is releasing them. And it's not.
Yeah, I know, that's the big one. No, it's not the police. And I've tried to push that a lot on this show too, is because I grew up in this whole world, and I've always somehow remained in it back from my Crime Stopper days, and got to know a lot of, all my friends that were all retired now. So, they're living the high life now. So I want to touch on, we're going to get out of here. So I want to touch auxiliary program. Okay. So anybody that really kind of interested in it, you can do ride-alongs and talk to, come in and see the station and talk to you, whatever. If they want to get involved, auxiliary programs are a pretty cool thing, especially community events and different things that you can get involved with helping out. What's involved with that? So if I want to come to you, I just moved to Aylmer. Or even if I grew up in Aylmer, but I'm considering, I think, auxiliary work for me. So what do I do?
So first and foremost, we need to have a process that's posted. So right now our spots are full. So it's not unlike any other kind of recruiting campaign. But we're looking, there's two streams, and the way that we view auxiliary is exactly that. So we've got some people that look at auxiliary as I mentioned about the low German, members.
Yes. Yeah.
They're doing it to give back to the community, and they really believe in kind of bridging those gaps. And there's that group.
That's good.
Then we get another, sect of people who really want to get into policing and want to use it as a stepping stone. Which is fine, but we need that blend. Because if we had transition all the time of people that are just using it as a stepping stone, we'd be forever replacing training. So first and foremost, the auxiliary program is really designed for community representation. And, building those inroads, and, it's a stepping stone, but we really hold on that blend.
But you also like the person that wants to do it, say, long-term, just, I'm not sure what the hours, the OPP, I think it used to be 20 hours a month.
Our number's 12. That's 12? Kind of what we have.
So maybe it was 10, I'm thinking of.
Some months it's more, some months it's 0. Like, we understand people are busy. But it's in line with a lot of the basic requirements for recruiting constables. You need to be at least 18. You need to have a driver's license. You can't have a criminal record with no pardon. Those kind of things. So then, we run a process. We have an interview. We bring people in, and we just kind of.
Now they go through the same kind of training though too, don't they? Like, is there an aptitude test or something? I know they have to have a certain first aid.
Basic first aid and CPR. That kind of stuff. But no, we there's no OACP. There's no aptitude test. There's nothing like that. It's kind of it's just kind of the way we run it is like a fit. Is this person going to fit in, or is this really what?
Everybody brings certain strengths.
100%.
Like, there's certain things that, absolutely. So when you're training, so you're kind of all in-house training. That is really what it is. It's not like OPP have an auxiliary program that you go up into Aurelia and they do a training, whatever there. But So for Aylmer, you're not like that.
Nope.
Everything would be all done.
Everything's
there,
done internally. We've
Yeah.
got our own training program built. We've got our own use of force instructors to get everybody up and
Oh, very
going.
nice.
And then, it's all autonomous.
Now, if you have somebody that's wanting to do, say, every other weekend, they could do like full shifts. Mm-hmm. That's great.
Yeah, and we have some people who want to do that. Yep,
you can
100%.
do that.
And you know, it's that fit, like I was saying before. And we have some that, you know, build really good relationships with the officers, and we let them just kind of, you know, set their own schedule and come out with those that they enjoy riding with, and it works really well.
So what do they do auxiliaries and engage with the public? So what basically, like they can also assist. Now, auxiliaries don't have powers of arrest.
They don't, unless they're basically with a police officer.
Yes. So if he would deem that he would have to, does he verbally have to say something to them? Or
no, it's implied when you're with them, right?
Okay.
So I mean, if
All
you're
right.
in an incident and they say, hey, you know, arrest this person or whatever,
Yep.
like, they're not going to act on their own, but they do have those powers as long as they're under the supervision and direction.
So they would be doing, what was his name in St. Thomas? He used to do all the handcuff training.
Anders Nielsen?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Does he still do it? Is he, I know he went to OPC or something.
He's
at one time,
retired.
right? Is he all retired now?
Fully retired, yeah.
Okay,
Just
all
ran
right.
into him in the grocery store the other day, so yeah.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. But,
Still around.
So that's something auxiliaries would have to go through that though.
They do.
Like that.
Annual,
they do all that kind of
annual
training.
use of force
Yep, yep.
recertifications, yep.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. That's I think a really neat opportunity for
quite
people
like
to get in it.
Coming from a world where we didn't have it, I do see I certainly see the benefits in a service our size.
So other than riding with officers, say doing ride-alongs or whatever, but you have the fair coming up or for traffic, right? So this is where you would utilize auxiliaries. Do they help in that aspect?
They can, yeah. I mean, 99% of the time, it's the community events with the pop-up tent and kind of, you know, engaging with the public and accompanying a police officer. But yeah, we certainly use them for the
Use
events.
them at like ride-along, or not ride-alongs, ride programs.
Yep.
So they
and in
kinda
like
come up and
in
help there.
observation capacity,
Yep.
Yep, for sure.
Okay. Yeah. So they're actually quite involved.
Oh yeah, no, they are very involved.
That's awesome.
And I mean, like I said, in a service this size, it's highlighted.
So are you seeing any, like, has there been an increase in people wanting to join auxiliary, or is that still something you're trying to get out?
No, actually, the auxiliary program, as recent as yesterday, we had somebody just show up in the lobby wanting to try and get onto the auxiliary.
Oh, did they?
Yeah,
Oh,
it happens
okay.
quite a bit. Which,
So who actually makes that decision then? So if they come in and say, okay, or they apply or say, okay, they make their intentions known.
Yep.
Is it up to you, or is it a committee, or is there somebody below you in staff that handles hiring?
There's a sergeant right now that oversees the auxiliary program. So he's the one who kind of is the gatekeeper for that. Him and the deputy will generally do kind of the interviews together, and then we'll put that together and see who comes forward. So
Awesome. Okay, we're going to wrap this up. So Kyle, I know one of my questions was, if you weren't doing this, what would you be doing? I know you said the landscaping.
Yep.
That's probably where you would have been, and playing with the tractors and all that, because I love tractors.
100%. Yeah, that's where I
backhoes
mean.
and dozers and
Yeah.
But I found a picture here I think you were going to be absolutely phenomenal at. This would have been your next career, and you would have been manning that drive-through window.
You know what? That policing's stressful, but that is exceptionally stressful.
Isn't that can be a horrific position at times?
I left that, and I've done a couple times since, and
Yeah.
that's Jack, who I got to know pretty well, and he saved me. But
Okay.
that is the most underappreciated position in our society today.
Quite a few years ago, I can't remember. You would have been here. I did that Haitian fundraiser, and I had from Joe Preston. We did it at Wendy's. So I had Cliff Wirework was mayor at the time, and I had Chief. I think it was Bill Lynch.
Okay, yeah.
From St. Thomas. I had some other officers. I had EMS. I had Steve Peters. Anyway, we were raising money for that Haitian thing back at that time, and I had the chief and Lois actually at that time. They were manning that drive-through window.
Yeah, it's
and,
chaos.
They were like, no,
Chaos.
no, they were, and then from that, okay, so you didn't like it, but now how about this one? Would you be the baker?
Yeah, you know what?
You guys, like, I'm looking at those every time I have these cookies like this. Okay, mine always has a disability.
Yeah.
I always get ones.
It's like a piece of fine art. Like no two are the same, and that's kind of exactly what happened there. We were going for quantity, not quality, but they're definitely unique.
Quality, but not quantity. Or quantity, yeah. That's an amazing. I enjoyed that shot. All right, so as we were talking, so there's auxiliary programs. So all these pictures, I'll have it up on the screen. Excuse me, these are all from the Aylmer Facebook page, so they're already published.
So that's Maria. She's phenomenal. So she actually works at the Low German Mennonite radio station in town at the Bridge.
Oh, is there? Okay.
And she has had me on several times now, and it's quite an experience.
Are you learning the language slowly?
I can pick up on some things. And actually, like I said, I went to Davenport in grade 7 and 8. So, I still have lifelong friends that are very fluent in Low German. So I know some of the
With Catherine,
some
I found funny was some of them, the way they're transcribing now into our culture, kind of, they're still living at home and stuff, but you see them in like regular clothing now. And,
it's a generational thing.
That culture is really...
It's interesting, and Maria was the one who kind of taught me this. Low German is a spoken language and not really a written language. So it's a dialect.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it's becoming a little more written, but so for us to do communications, it's very difficult. It's very audio. So she does a lot of that for us, which is exceptional.
Okay. Awesome. Now this was kind of sad for me because my friendship with this guy, but I think this is when Chief Aylmer was handing the keys off to that was your chief then when you came, right? So Monty, I never met him, but I still see Chief Aylmer around every once in a while.
Oh yeah,
I haven't been able to talk to him.
Andre's still very, very active, and
does he still stop in and see you?
Yeah, he does actually. We're in touch, and he's obviously still on Crime Stoppers and doing a lot, so we cross paths quite frequently.
It must be a great resource for you though too, to still be able to be in touch with some of these people that are in that position, right? So
it is, and especially with the Aylmer connection, and the 2.5 years that I worked with Svanko there on the left, I learned a ton from him, and he brought a whole different world of experience with him, and I was very fortunate to kind of be able to work under him for that period of time, and just see a different way of doing business than where I came from. So it was excellent.
Well, are you Aylmer's youngest police chief now?
You know what? I don't
Have you officially been called that?
No, not yet. But
we got to find out. I think you are. That's awesome though, because you could have a massive long career there.
Yeah,
which is nice if that's where
it's a great spot. I'm very happy there. Yeah,
might lure you back to St. Thomas sometime in the future, and you'll take over here.
You never say never. I don't know what the future will hold, but
then you got to get rid of the black shirt, and you're into the whites over here, right?
You know what? I quite like the black shirts. You can spill, you can have coffee, and it's far more forgiving than white. That's why we haven't switched over. So
yeah, food related. All right, awesome, Kyle. Thanks so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
I think it's
nice to see you.
It's just been a great chat.
Thanks very much.
So hopefully, let's set it up. Let's set that up sometime, and let's show the people how.
I'd love to.
How you guys do that? So
that'd be awesome.
That'd be so cool. I think Chief Aylmer would love that because he wanted to get this done, and we never did. So
we can have a cameo on there.
That's right. Yay! There you go. Maybe we can, yes. I'm gonna call you. All right.
In the quiet moments, there's a voice. It knows you, sees your potential, calls you to something greater. It isn't always loud, but it is always there. You've heard it your entire life. That persistent pull to serve, help, uplift, and it's what drives you to answer the call. Policing isn't just a job, it's a chance to make an impact. Part of a team that turns chaos into calm, supporting real people, protecting real communities. The voice guides you to lead with grit and heart, to step forward when others step back, to offer a steady hand, because you were made for this. Find your people, find your purpose, find your calling. Answer the call.